Hi, this is Lincoln Stoller. I've written a book called Dreaming Yourself into Being, which was several years in the making. I didn't start with my interest in dreaming. I started with an interest in altered states of mind and feeling, and sort of came to dreaming over time. And the reason I came to it, finally, was I've recognized, and I believe and argue in this book, that there are three ways of thinking, not just two. And we normally think of two: the intellectual approach and the emotional approach. You might not think of emotions as a way of thinking, but I do. And if you look at them structurally, they're quite different. Intellect uses reason and logic, sequence and precedent, and emotion is instinctive, reactive, impulsive. It's very holistic, has a lot of legacy, and it's pretty selfish. You can mix the two, consciously or otherwise, but I think most of our decisions and most of the personalities we develop and encounter tend to be on one side or the other. The typical analytical person and the typical emotional person. And that's pretty much what psychology advocates and society encourages. And dreams get lost. And that's kind of why they seem irrelevant. They're not widely spoken about. They're really not included in psychotherapy these days. And so it took a while for me to appreciate that dreams really are a way of thinking, which I call associative. They're not logical. They're not sequential. I wouldn't say they're unrealistic, but their reality is contrived and assembled. But in almost every case, not every case, but almost, they give you realistic scenes. And while you're dreaming them, they seem unquestionably real. Well, sometimes you question them, but that's a form of lucidity that usually ends up in you waking out of your dream. So normal dreams, and we have, whether you know it or not, hours of them every night. And it's also been discovered that you dream at a pace that you think. So you don't have a dream of living a year in a minute-long dream. What takes a minute of your dream is taking a minute. So it's very much like real life. You're really experiencing a movie or experience in real time or at a real pace. But you're obviously not thinking clearly, and you're not feeling particularly clearly. You're kind of, discombobulated emotionally. You might say overwhelmed or impacted by the events in ways that you wouldn't be in real life. And you certainly don't think clearly. In fact, your ability to be analytical is laughably lost. In most dreams, I can't add, I can't read, and I can't see numbers and words clearly or at all. In fact, I have dreams where I'm holding a phone and I can't see the numbers, or I can't remember what numbers to punch, or I can't move my fingers to punch them. It's that deficient in executive function. But still, the dreams you have are impactful. They change your mood. They cause you to change your thoughts. And it is established that they change your memory. They're supposed to consolidate your memory. You remember things better when you dream about them in some sort of precise way. And I claim in this book, Dreaming Yourself to Being, Dreaming Yourself into Being, that you are actually doing a kind of thinking that's not logical, rational, reasonable, well, sort of reasonable in its own way. Not primarily emotional, but primarily associative. You're associating a whole mess of memories, experiences, inclinations, attitudes, and ideas in a kind of milkshake of experience, which is a lot safer than doing it in the real world, for sure. And you're putting things together, and you don't forget your conclusions, even though you forget the dreams. It's like the dreams get baked into you in terms of an attitude, a result, or a mood, and you carry that forward, not rationally, not with clear recollection. But you can become more involved, you can incubate to some extent, not exactly control intellectually what you're going to dream about, but your dreams do tend to reflect what you're obsessed with, or indifferent to, or looking forward to, or afraid of. And those things you can amplify, focus on. And although you may not be able to control what you dream about in particular, it does seem that you can control, or can develop some control, in terms of the landscape of your dreams, the areas you go to visit, as if you were going to visit a certain time period, but you didn't know where. And after writing this book, I thought, what else can I do to clarify this? So I took 18 of my past essays on dreams and wrote another book, or assembled it. And I've put it on Kickstarter because I wanted to get more, exposure. Because Kickstarter will announce your campaigns to their large readership once you pass the threshold, which ensures that Kickstarter will get a percentage of your earnings. So I set the earnings low, and I set the prices that I'm offering the books in all their forms: audio, digital, print, paperback, hardcover. And now there's a second book, which is called Dream Fragments, the assembly of these 18 past posts. And the Dream Fragments book, as I read it over, really focuses on the idea of different kinds of thinking. And it's encouraging you to bring these different kinds of thinking in your conscious daily life. It's like if there are 3 ways of thinking and you're only doing 2 when you're awake, then you're not that integrated. And you're kind of relying on whatever naturally happens to assemble your memories in a useful arrangement. And, this is why it's useful for artists and analysts to have downtime where they can daydream and clear their minds. Because when you do that, you're opening space for memories, associations, emotions, thoughts. So that basically, inviting dreams into your daily life includes several things: daydreaming, intentionally setting yourself on different issues before you go to sleep with the hope of some exploration in your dream life, and also simply thinking more associatively, which means free association. Not just logical or emotional association, but free association. And, as a therapist, that's kind of what I spend a lot of time doing. Free associating. Present, past, adult, childhood, family, personal, traumatic, aspirational ideas, experiences, moods, and feelings. So these books are basically about therapy, self-therapy, The first one, Dreaming Yourself into Being, is kind of a list and an organization and explanation of dreams and dream work with self-hypnosis, audios, and scripts to kind of open your mind to fantasy landscapes. And the other book, the 18 essays, turns out to be half as long, at about 160 pages printed. And as I say, it focuses on thinking. It's kind of repetitive because I keep hammering on that topic from different approaches. But I think they're both useful. And I hope that this is actually a key way of broadening your power in thought and crafting your future. And as a result, I predict, you will remember your dreams better, you will engage in them to a much higher level, where the characters in your dreams start to speak to you as if you were involved in the scenes. And a certain degree of lucidity starts to pervade your dreams, where you don't actually control them, though sometimes you can. But you're more present and reflective. And there's more humor and personality in them. Less a witness and more a participant. So check out the Kickstarter, which I've linked somewhere, either below this video or on my website. Or if you go to Kickstarter and look up my name, or you go to Kickstarter and you look up Dreaming Yourself into Being, all ways of getting there. So the campaign runs through February of 2026. And it's 4 weeks. No, wait a minute. It's running through January and it ends in February. So it ends before February. And the book will be published, the books will be published in February. And the sponsorships that you purchase will be delivered in April, probably. So I have time to record, publish, and otherwise get these out. So thanks for listening. Please take a look. I think you'll find it quite different from any other work you'll read on dreaming. Thanks.